I want to look at an audio function here that in my mind is related to compression, in that this function allows us to adjust the audio playback level of an existing recorded file. This function is called normalizing and is, as I say, related to compressing an audio file, and we'll look further at compressing in the next tutorial. Well, not in the next tutorial, but the one following that. I'm only saying that because I'm splitting this tutorial into two, whereby I'm going to give you information about what normalizing is in this tutorial, and in the next tutorial I'll put this information into practice. So, as I say, normalizing is related to compression in that we can optimize the playback level of a file. Now, what normalizing doesn't do is alter the relationship between the permanently fluctuating level in the file, as compression does, but it does adjust its playback volume. So that's what normalizing doesn't do. What normalizing does is search for the loudest peak within a file and then use that loudest peak as a reference point to subsequently increase the relative volume of the whole file right across its duration. So, for example, if the loudest peak is at -4 decibels, then this loud peak will be moved up to 0 decibels, and as a consequence, the remainder of the file is increased by the same amount too. Now do bear in mind that the loudest peak in a file might only last for a millisecond, but will still be used as the normalizing point. Therefore, it's not uncommon to find an audio file that has a loud peak at -3 dB or -4 dB, but that is the loudest point. The remainder of the file might not reach any higher than -7 dB, for example. So normalizing and taking the loudest peak up to 0 dB will only increase the rest of the file by that amount. So something that was at -7 dB increased by 4 dB will still only have those loud points at -3 dB. Okay, now that's a little bit of theory. What I'm going to do now is get started for a couple of minutes, and then in the next tutorial we'll look further and put this into practice. First of all, I'll enlarge my audio track so that you can see its peaks better across the length. I will need to reduce my video track first, and then now I can adjust my audio track height at this screen resolution. Okay, now before we go any further, do note that our audio track, and in fact every audio track that you use, will have a volume or a level playback meter that visually displays the audio level as it plays back, and it's there. This level meter corresponds with the main output meter over here at the top right, but the difference is the main output displays the combined audio output of multiple audio tracks. So if you've got 4 or 5 different audio tracks, the main output over there on the right will be displaying the combined levels of all your audio tracks together, whereas the individual tracks, as we've got here for track 2, well, this will only display just for the track itself. It won't be a mix of any other audio tracks together. Now, so we don't get a false impression of audio playback here with our track 2, I've actually removed all the audio effects from our effects chain. I'll click on here again as we've done previously to show you. See, it's blank and ready for me to add any should I want to. Well, I don't want to, so I'll click on cancel. Now, do you remember in the previous tutorial where we normalized our audio file for this beginning section to register at -0.1 decibels? Remember how we did that in Audition? So the loudest peaks here should register on my track level meter at -0.1 of a decibel at the loudest points. And of course it's going to do the same thing in our main output level too, because we've only got this one audio file playing back. So, first of all, let's watch and listen to this starting section where it should show -0.1 decibel at the loudest points. So, I'll hit play.
White Star rocket ships fill the air with the roar of drums and the sound of I don't care. I can just imagine what's going on in there, but I cannot fathom as we dance along the air. And I believe what I can see inside of me, inside of you.
Okay, you saw the level meters indicate at minus 0.1 decibel there, as predicted. Whereas, you'll remember, our second section was left at the original recorded volume of around about minus 2 decibels at its loudest point. Now if I move my CTI to here and hit play for this section, we'll just check this out. Here we go.
What I still scare, there's always days like these. I can't wake up, slept too peacefully.
Okay, the loudest peak was at minus 2 decibels, as indicated on both meters. Right, I'm going to finish up here for this tutorial, and in the following tutorial we'll look at normalizing and the ramifications of doing this if we don't actually normalize the correct areas. So I'll see you in a moment.